Number 10. Bucket list. A 19-year-old woman from Homestead, Florida was arrested back in early 2022 for trying to escape an officer. Afterward, the suspect, Jania Shamiracle Douglas, confessed to a Monroe County Sheriff's deputy that getting arrested had supposedly been on her bucket list since she was in high school. For her thoughtless actions, she was charged with eluding and fleeing. According to the police report, the deputy that arrested her witnessed the driver of a Toyota brand sedan driving recklessly and speeding on Card Sound Road around 7:47 a.m. When the deputy turned on his patrol car's sirens and lights, Douglas refused to pull over and instead just kept driving southbound until she was eventually stopped at a three-way intersection. As a result, the young woman was sent to jail. The outcome of the case, though, has yet to be seen. Number 9. Drunk bus driver. In March of 2023, a school bus driver from West Virginia veered off the road with 50 kids on board and almost crashed after getting behind the wheel drunk. 33-year-old Casey Dodrill admitted to drinking after failing 3 sobriety tests, according to local news outlets. He told officers that his reasons for committing the crime was because he had a lot on his mind. Dodrill was seen driving erratically with students from Golly River Elementary and Richwood High School. A teacher's aide from the county school district was the one who filed a police report. The aide told dispatchers that Dodrill had swerved off the road. The driver reportedly blew a .118 on a breathalyzer test, which is way over the legal limit of .08 in West Virginia. Melissa Adkins, the personnel director for Nicholas County Schools, told reporters that they were handling the matter very seriously. She explained that parents put their children on a school bus every morning and that they have every right to trust that the driver will transport their kids to and from school safely. Dodrill was arrested on a DUI charge after the incident, and the case is still ongoing. Number 8. Don't call the police. In 2010, a 27-year-old man from Bridgeport, Connecticut robbed a Fairfield bank. For his crimes, he was sentenced to 9 years behind bars. Albert Bailey did the one thing you shouldn't do before a robbery. He called the business beforehand, telling them he was on his way. According to Howard Stein, the senior assistant state's attorney, the police got a call from a worker at the People's United Bank on March 23rd. The employee said that they'd just spoken to a man who demanded $100,000 in large bills over the phone, who also said that someone would soon come into the bank for the money. The polite robber asked them do not call the police because they were monitoring the police scanner. Bailey apparently told the worker that he wasn't afraid to take hostages and could easily turn the place into a bloodbath. Without the robber physically in the store, though, employees were able to easily lock the bank's doors. But they were unaware that Bailey's cousin, who was only 16, was already inside. The bank then got a second call from Bailey where he asked the bank worker if she saw his associate. Meanwhile, the man's cousin had silently placed an empty briefcase on the teller's counter. Still on the phone, Bailey then instructed the employee not to make a scene or else they'd start taking hostages. So a teller placed a wad of cash in the briefcase, and afterward, the cousin then met Bailey in the parking lot of some nearby condominiums where he was waiting in a getaway car. Luckily, the authorities showed up right as Bailey was driving away. When officers pointed their guns at the robbers, they surrendered. All the stolen money was recovered and returned to the bank, and while Bailey received a 9-year sentence, it's not clear what consequences his younger cousin faced. Number 7. Zachary Tentoni. In June of 2013, a Boston thief who stole a woman's wallet inside a schoolyard was captured by the police after he accidentally left his birth certificate at the crime scene. 26-year-old Zachary Tentoni from Connecticut was arrested and charged with unarmed robbery. The victim reported to the police that she'd left the Fields Corner T station and was making her way through the schoolyard at Harbor Middle School when the robber came up behind her. Tentoni then snatched the woman's clutch wallet, which contained $40 in cash and her ID. But in the process of doing so, he dropped 2 bags of his own. He left behind hygiene products, clothes, and a pair of sneakers. But at the top of the bag was Tentoni's birth certificate, which immediately identified him as the thief. Just hours later, Tentoni was apprehended only a block away from the crime scene. He was booked into jail on a $500 bail. Unfortunately, not much else is known about this case, so it's unclear what Tentoni's punishment was. Number 6. Bad Luck Bandit. In 2018, a man known as the Bad Luck Bandit tried breaking into a business in Suitland, Maryland, but things didn't go according to his plan. Luckily, the incident was captured by the restaurant's surveillance cameras. On the 20th of September, using a brick, the thief successfully destroyed the front glass window of the carry-out business. But that's where the bandit's luck ran out. The suspect then used the same brick to try and break the glass protecting the restaurant's front counter. He unfortunately failed to notice that the glass was bulletproof, and because he didn't know any better, he tried to shatter the glass 3 times. On the thief's third attempt, the brick flew back at him and smacked him in the head. After taking the hit, the suspect fell to the floor where he laid there for a few minutes. Eventually, though, he stood up and decided to leave after failing to rob the place. Surprisingly, the Bad Luck Bandit was never caught or identified, but the police called on the public to report anyone they saw with a suspicious head injury. It's now been over 4 years since the incident, and no arrests have been made. Number 5, Candace Keene. In Columbus County, North Carolina, a woman was arrested on several drug charges after the police got an anonymous tip that she was going to smoke some marijuana during a Facebook live stream in late 2021. At 9:15 in the morning on December 2nd, the local sheriff's office was told that 33-year-old Candace Keene was preparing weed to be smoked during her social media stream. So investigators reviewed the woman's Facebook account and watched the video in question. Afterward, officers showed up at Keene's home and spoke with her about the illegal narcotics seen in the video. Based on what a spokesperson for the police department wrote, Keene didn't deny that she had drugs in her possession. During a search of the woman's home, investigators found and collected a controlled prescription medicine that wasn't prescribed to Keene and an unspecified amount of drugs. After her arrest, she allegedly threatened to pee in the patrol car, which she was taken to jail in. In the end, Keene was charged with possession of drug paraphernalia and possession with intent to manufacture, sell, or deliver a Schedule 6 controlled substance. She was then booked into a Columbus County jail and her bail was set at $4,000. Some people just aren't that bright. Number 4, substitute teacher. When you're a teacher, there are a few things that you should never do, like bringing a weapon into the school. But apparently, 26-year-old substitute teacher Kiara Nashe Ansley didn't read the memo and brought a stun gun into her classroom in March of 2016. It was her first day subbing at Jefferson Davis Middle School in Jacksonville, Florida. Ansley's attorney, Dexter Davis, explained that his client felt intimidated by some of her students who surrounded her desk and were screaming at her. According to a police report, Principal Nydia Ashby was told by a student that the substitute teacher in room 730 had a stun gun. Ashby then went to the room to ask Ansley if it was true. The teacher replied that she had it in her purse. Afterward, Ashby contacted the school's resource officer, who confiscated the weapon and escorted the sub to the principal's office. Ansley had the purple stun gun in a black holster. The official report claims that Ansley showed her students the dangerous device and possibly even discharged the weapon in an attempt to get her classroom to calm down. This was supported by the fact that a student claimed they saw and heard a taser. Davis said that as the unruly students continued antagonizing Ansley, she told them that she had a taser and wasn't afraid to use it, although she never actually pointed the weapon at any children. While most people know that you aren't allowed to bring things like a stun gun into school, Ansley claimed that she didn't realize she couldn't have it in the classroom. As a result, the substitute teacher was charged with carrying a weapon on school property, which is a third-degree felony that's punishable by up to 5 years behind bars. But unfortunately, even though this incident happened back in 2016, it's unclear what happened in the end. Number 3, cyber criminals. A 15-year-old cyber criminal from Scotland was arrested by British police in 2016 after hacking into the FBI systems. Have you ever heard the saying, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should? Well, this warning fell on deaf ears since everyone knows you shouldn't mess with the FBI. Under the Computer Misuse Act of 1990, Britain's anti-hacking law, the teenager was arrested for accessing the agency's digital material and hacking. Federal agents fled to Glasgow to carry out a raid on the 15-year-old's home before proceeding with the criminal's arrest. He faced a trial in the U.S., but his extradition was blocked by Home Secretary Theresa May under human rights laws. The operation in Glasgow happened a few months after another Scottish hacker, Gary McKinnon, was named the most dangerous hacker of all time. The suspect was believed to be an active member of a notorious hacking group called Crackers with Attitude. The hacktivists were allegedly behind a series of cyber attacks on the US government as well as its high-ranking officials, which took place around the same time. According to a police spokesman who released a statement to a Scottish journal, the young criminal has since been released from custody but continues to be the subject of a report to the Procurator Fiscal. Information on the genius hacker is hard to find, but hopefully he learned his lesson. Number 2, cop deals with marijuana overdose. In 2007, a crooked cop from Dearborn, Michigan called 911 while he was off duty to report that he and his wife had eaten too many pot brownies. 29-year-old Edward Sanchez cooked up a batch of the marijuana-laced desserts using confiscated marijuana. During the 911 call, Sanchez claimed he only used a quarter ounce of the drug but said that he and his wife had eaten the whole pan. Never before experiencing the intense high, he felt way out of his league and reported the incident only an hour and a half after eating the brownies. In the phone call that went viral, Sanchez said that he thought he and his wife were dead. The cops believed that they were experiencing a marijuana overdose and requested that officers come by his house to rescue his dumb ass. But if you weren't aware, overdosing on marijuana, even if you've consumed extremely potent edibles, is extremely hard to do and has never been reported to cause death. The blitzed officer told the dispatcher that time was passing by really slow. And then he asked what the score was for the Red Wings game that was apparently happening that night. When authorities got to the couple's home, Sanchez initially claimed his wife had taken the weed out of his police cruiser when he wasn't paying attention, but later confessed that he was just blaming her. Somehow, both Sanchez and his wife avoided any charges, but the officer resigned from his position on the force later that year. And at number 1, this baby is not for sale. In 2022, 49-year-old Rebecca Taylor from Texas was charged with sale or purchase of a child after randomly asking a mother how much her child cost while in a Walmart checkout line. The incident happened at a store near Houston. A mother and her 1-year-old infant son were buying their items at a self-checkout register when Taylor commented on her son's pretty blue eyes and blonde hair. Afterwards, she asked the woman how much the child was. The mother initially laughed at the comment, thinking it was a joke, but Taylor then said she had $250,000 in her vehicle to buy the baby. The mother refused to sell her child and waited for Taylor to leave the store before reporting the conversation to police. When the mom headed out to her car, Taylor stopped her and her baby once again. She upped the price that she was willing to pay to $500,000. She also apparently said that she wanted the boy and that if she couldn't buy him, she'd just take him instead. Even after the mother locked her and her child in the car, Taylor continued asking for the boy. Luckily, Taylor eventually got into her vehicle and left the scene, but a warrant was obtained for the woman's arrest and she was brought into custody on January 18th. She was booked into jail on a $50,000 bond, according to Click 2 Houston. Taylor managed to meet her bond though, and it's unclear what other consequences she faced afterwards. Can you think of a time when you got yourself into trouble for doing something you didn't think all the way through? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.